Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. So I'm super excited. I finally have SolidWorks and Fusion360 at the same time. So we're actually going to be doing a comparison video today. In fact, I'm going to be doing a series of comparison videos because I really don't think you can combine them all into one of like which is better. So today I'm specifically going to be talking about the layout, just the general feel of navigating the programs and the pros and cons of those. If you find this video helpful, hit that subscribe button, especially hit that bell because I'm definitely going to be posting more videos on comparing the two programs. Also, I do make a lot of videos highlighting features of just how and where to use them in Fusion360 and in SolidWorks. So definitely worthwhile looking at that. So we're going to be jumping over to SolidWorks first. I'm going to be breaking it up, just doing SolidWorks Pros, then Cons, and then same thing for Fusion360. First and foremost, right off the bat, one of the biggest pros for me is I like being able to see all of these icons. I like being able to see all my options all at once. That's a personal preference. That may be more daunting for someone who's a beginner or just getting into a program, but for me, it just makes it so simple. Something else that I really like is they haven't used up a lot of space for the build history and for the file information. So you have like your body, your solid bodies, you have your materials, your origins, and then your actual build history starts at right underneath your origin. I like having it all condensed into one, whereas Fusion360 kind of breaks it up. Personal preference again. The other thing, this is a super useful feature, especially if you're doing more advanced modeling or even just a lot of assembly. You can have multiple files open all at once, not just open, but you can see them and you can work on them. So over here, we can actually split the screen and you can see I have these two parts just side by side, which is really nice. So if they're going to be going together, let's say it's a mold that I'm going to be doing, a male and female mold, I can have them right next to each other being worked on. Awesome. But to make it even better is I can actually span all of SolidWorks onto multiple screens. I've even done it up to 3 screens. Really nice. And I can have 6 files open all at once. And let's say one is an assembly and the other 5 are the parts in the assembly. I can edit one, jump back over to the assembly, and the moment I jump back, it'll update. Super nice. A lot of people may not need that. A lot of people may not have more than one screen, but if you do, it's just a very nice feature. I really do like. One other thing that's also just a really clever, really simple thing that they've added in is every 20 minutes, if you haven't saved your file, if you haven't saved your file, it'll actually have, I'm actually going to be in the way. So right here, it'll actually have a little reminder saying, hey, don't forget, save your file. And so that's just really super useful. I really appreciate that they have that feature there. And I might even edit that into the video just to kind of show you what that looks like. Next, the assembly files are assembly files. That sounds really obvious, but when we start a new file, you get an option for a part file or an assembly file. I personally like that, keeping the part files separate, even just like in their icon, what it shows like this is a block, like a Lego. And assembly is you're taking individual Lego pieces and you're putting them together in a pure form of just an assembly. I like how they've separated that as they're very defined file types. I personally like that. So the last thing, and this is hands down the most useful thing that SolidWorks has done, especially for someone who's learning a program, is they have a search bar, which makes so much sense. So an example, let's say loft. I can click down here, click on commands. Let's say I want to know all the features that have lofts, or there's a specific type of loft, but I don't know what it's called, but it's loft something. I can type loft in, click enter, and it boom, it'll show me all of the features that have loft in it. But better than that, I can click on this right now and it'll actually open the feature, same as if I was to click the loft over here. Or even better, I can click this little eye icon and I will click on it and my clicker disappears. And if you look at the left side, boom, it's right there. And that little red arrow is not something I'm editing in. That is in SolidWorks. That is something that is already there, animated. Really nice. And it will do it for anything. It doesn't even have to be on the page. It could be something in tools and something down here and find modified features. And it'll pull all of this up, drop your pointer right there, big red arrow. So it's really nice to kind of teach you where things are, as well as just find things if you have no clue what they are. I love that. Okay, moving to cons, things that I don't like as much. Just the appearance. For me, I come from a design background. It looks very engineering. It looks overwhelming to some people. It's just not as inviting and can be daunting, especially for someone who is new to this program. But again, that's just my personal opinion. I like having a lot, but again, I've used these programs for some time. Someone brand new, I would lean towards Fusion 360 on that because it is a lot simpler. The other thing that's a little bit of a drawback is depending on what type of computer you have, can really bog down because SolidWorks can process a lot of things. Again, like if I have 5 files, 6 files open and I'm working on all of them, it can have a hard time. So some laptops may have a hard time, some desktops may have a hard time processing SolidWorks. But just something to keep in mind. For me personally, I have a gaming computer, but that's not necessarily what you have to have. You don't have to have something super beefy to do that. So just to keep that in mind. All right, we're actually going to move over to Fusion 360 now. And got kind of a same layout. But again, first and foremost, just the appearance, it's so much simpler. It is just so clean. Their toolbar is not cluttered. Their icons look actually really attractive, in my opinion, compared to SolidWorks. They have great choices of colors. Anyways, other thing that's really nice, especially on a learning side, is some people don't realize this, but zooming in and zooming out and knowing how to use that and how to actually toggle apart takes practice. It really does. It doesn't take a ton of practice, but for the first couple times you're 3D modeling, it is a pain in the butt. And it really is something that can deter people away because they just realize I can't even move things around. Autodesk has done a good job of kind of helping bridge that learning gap a little bit. First and foremost, let's say you lose the part and you have no clue where it is and you're trying to scroll around and you can't find it. You can click this little home icon and boom, it brings you back to home. Really, really nice. They also have the toggle cube. I don't know if that's actually what it's named, but that's what I've always called it, where you can actually click on different sides and you can see that it'll turn it. But you can also left click and move it around, just left click and drag, and it moves it around just as if you were with your scroller. Just a really nice kind of entry tool. I really like that personally. I think it's very clever. Something else is they do a lot with shortcuts, and their shortcuts are pretty no-brainer, especially in sketches. And so if let's say we go into a sketch, you can hover over these like circle. Its shortcut is C. That's great. And I'm not saying that SolidWorks doesn't use shortcuts, but they're not as I guess no-brainer. And you can go in and customize these for both programs. But I just think Fusion 360 did a good job of just prepping people to use shortcuts because it makes your life so much easier and modeling so much quicker. So that's something that I think they did another good job there. Near the bottom, this is a kind of a fun little feature. I'm going to have to move my logo again. Not that it's like anything that's stupid, like important or anything, but it's still just kind of fun, is they have this little play icon. So you can click on it and you can actually see it play through your build history, which I think is a clever feature. I think it's fun, especially again if you're just learning to model. It's fun to show off what you did and to be like, look, I did all of these steps. Boom, take that. So I think it's a really clever feature, especially really nice to be able to show off what you've been learning. One thing that is a pro and kind of a con is the files for Fusion 360 and your whole account is saved on an account, a website, an internet account. And so you can access these files from any Fusion 360 program. You just have to log in your account. Really, really nice, unless your internet's down. Now, you can save those files onto your computer, so that's not like the end of the world. But that is just a pro and con. And the program works fine without internet. It's not running on the internet, but it does save and sometimes process information through the internet. And so that is something that is important to keep in mind. I think the files themselves, I could be wrong. I'll have to double check this, but I think the files themselves, if it's on your main desktop, it might already like kind of save it to that account. No, I don't know. I'd have to double check that actually. But I do know that all the files are on your actual account. And so that can be something that could be a little bit hairy, but again, you can save them as normal files onto your computer. One of the cool thing about that though is because it's online, similar to like a Google Doc, you can share files and they can be edited back and forth. Unlike a Google Doc, you can't both be modeling at the same time. I really wish they could. I've actually really wish they could. It'd be pretty fun. Also hectic, but you can edit and actually get updates from, let's say you're working with your manager or a friend. They can model something and you can watch it change gradually, which is pretty cool. I think that's a clever feature. Things I don't like about Fusion 360. So assemblies don't auto update like in SolidWorks, where if I change a part file, then the assembly I go back, it'll update it immediately. I like that. It doesn't do that in Fusion 360. So if let's say I have another part here, I actually will have to right click on whatever part has been updated and there'll be a little warning sign saying this is not the most recent version. Would you like to update? Click yes. Not a big deal, but just kind of a little bit of a hassle. Assembly files and part files aren't really separated. I mean, they kind of are, but not really. The build space is the same. A lot of the features, I can be in the program and I can work, have two files in here and I can still edit the file just like it's a normal file. I don't know. I think it just gets a little hairy and confusing by doing that. That could just be because I started with SolidWorks first, but personal preference there. The other thing is it doesn't give you an update of like, say you haven't saved for an hour. It doesn't give you a warning. That is something that I do wish that they did have. What they do have, and SolidWorks has this as well, is up on your title of your file, there's a little asterisk. That means this file has not been saved. The most recent version is not saved yet. And so that is a little bit of a warning, but not one that people are going to be noticing unless they know to look for it. Another problem, not necessarily a problem, but like restraint is you are stuck with one screen. For most people, that's not a problem. If you are doing more complicated assemblies or things with lots of parts, that's kind of a bummer. But yeah, so you are stuck with this one screen. You can have multiple files, but they just kind of open up on these tabs up here, and you kind of can just toggle back and forth between them. And the very last thing, it's not as powerful as SolidWorks. Kind of a con, kind of a pro. It means it runs on computers that don't have to be as beefy, so that is a big pro. But in the cons side, if you're doing more complicated assemblies, it's really not going to be built as well as SolidWorks is for that, as well as maybe for different analysis for like say stress or something. Not saying that it can't do it, it's just not as powerful. But that is it. And so I personally, I think both programs are very, very strong programs. Oh, sorry, I need to remove that guy back. Right there. And so I think both of them are very good. There's nothing wrong with one or the other. If you are just getting into 3D modeling, though, I'm going to have to say I lean towards Fusion 360 because it is a lot more user-friendly. I have a niece that was recently doing some 3D modeling on Inventor, which is another Autodesk program. And for me, I was like, what are you doing? This is a lot more like in depth and kind of daunting program. Moved her over to Fusion 360 and immediately she was like, this is so much simpler. It's so much more intuitive. So if you are just learning a program just to learn 3D modeling, I think Fusion 360 is a phenomenal program. If you're planning on doing things more on an industrial level and as a career, you should learn SolidWorks. You really should. It's going to be something that's going to make a huge difference in your career. And like I said earlier, I learned SolidWorks first. And then because I did that, I switched over to Fusion 360. Fusion 360 was very quick and easy for me to pick up. And so, yeah, if you're planning on professionally doing 3D modeling, it's probably a good idea for you to learn SolidWorks or another one of those beefier programs like Inventor. If you found this video helpful, definitely hit that subscribe button. I am going to be doing more videos comparing like prices and maybe even looking at what industries prefer which program. But yeah, if you have any questions, please put a comment down below. I'd love to answer them. I love seeing your guys' comments. I've really appreciated them. Appreciate the support, and keep on modeling, guys, and have fun.